just saying, how long did it take NBC News to do this story?
Oh, probably 3 or 4 days. Realistically, 3 or 4 days, probably.
That's what I'm getting at. 3 to 4 days, right?
Right.
Who's the managing editor of NBC News?
Chuck Todd.
So would Chuck Todd have known about this story in the works?
Should have.
He should have, shouldn't he?
I would assume that he would know if he's truly managing editor. Sometimes those titles just get assigned to people, on the basis of their celebrity. So if he's truly a managing editor, he should know about it.
My question is, do you think Chuck Todd 2 days ago knew about this story in the works?
I would guess so. I wouldn't necessarily swear to it, but I would assume that he would know that that's at least percolating
speculation. That's what we do here, right?
Right. Yes.
Here's Chuck Todd 2 days ago.
Well, Garrett, look at the way the right tried to weaponize the idea that the DHS was going to essentially try and attempt to monitor hateful rhetoric, right? They want to make it seem as if it's some sort of big brother, and it's like, this is always what the right does to appease the white supremacist movement by saying, hey, free speech, don't touch speech.
Yeah, right. The Ministry of Disinformation, they called.
Now, you and I both like personally Chuck Todd.
I like him personally. He's a very likable guy.
Yes,
and he's and to be fair, he has been generous to me. Brought me on to his show a couple times to discuss my book. Didn't need to do that. Had no requirement to do it. Did it anyway.
He was always good to Hugh when Hugh was with the relationship with NBC News. Nothing personal against Chuck Todd, except that you got to be freaking kidding me.
Yeah, I mean, first off, if you think that free speech is only a dog whistle for white supremacy, I mean, that's absolutely absurd. He works in a First Amendment arena,
again,
right?
Do you think that he is aware of what the rap on Nina Jankowicz is and what she tried to claim the Hunter Biden story was all about? Do you think he's totally unaware of all that?
I would be surprised if he was unaware. I would be surprised if for no other reason.
So he knows that story's cooking, and he knows that Nina Jankowicz tried to disinformation and shit can that story when it turned out to be true after all.
Yep.
And he knows that his own news network is working on a bombshell on that same story, and he tries to spin the destruction of the Disinformation Board and Nina Jankowicz as a right-wing attempt to appease the white supremacists.
That's assuming, yes. I mean, it's assuming that he knew about it. That's pretty cynical. It's pretty cynical.
That's actually kind of not a real honest way to handle
it. And also, let's not forget that it wasn't just the white supremacists and conservatives that were complaining about Nina Jankowicz.
It was the freaking nation.
The nation, which had nothing to do with the Hunter Biden laptop story, by the way.
Right.
Was complaining that Nina Jankowicz was running cover for the Ukrainian government by covering up the provenance of some of the military organizations that under Zelensky's military, including the Azov Regiment, which really does have some problems. It's got some issues, and we're not talking about that because they're fighting for their lives there, but. Yeah,
Ed Morrissey, for our audience, I want you to run down the entire roster and list of conservative writers for the nation. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me clear my throat. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I've known a couple of the people over at the Nation. John Nichols, for instance, is a very nice man. I don't know if he's still there or not. He's a very nice man. He was a novelist. He's been a long-time writer for the Nation.
How many Republicans do you think he voted for?
0 in his entire life. I'm not even sure he votes for Democrats. Frankly, I think he votes for Greens. But I don't know. John, though, is a very nice man. The Nation does do some very interesting work. It's worth reading from time to time. If for no other reason to take the temperature of the left, apparently nobody bothered to do that when it came to Nina Jankowicz, though. And this idea that somehow that Taylor Lorenz, that Washington Post article, we talked about this last night, that Washington Post article about that they allowed Taylor Lorenz to write as a news story was just atrocious.
Under the banner of democracy dies in darkness.
Democracy dies in darkness. How dare you question our governmental overlords? Yeah. I mean, that's really what this article came down to. Is like, well, she was harassed, she was criticized, she was abused. She
was a crank. She was and is a crank.
She was a crank that worked in the government. And the criticisms were about not just her, but the entire idea that the government should have a disinformation governance board, which is a ludicrous thing. And again, we talked about Jack Schaefer's column about this in late April. It's hilarious.
I'm glad it's gone. I'm glad she's gone. Piss on its grave, salt the earth where it grew. Let's make sure nothing like that ever happens again in any administration, left or right.
Right. So to get back to the Hunter Biden scoop, I find it interesting in another sense, and I'm not saying that there was any sort of coordination here. But I don't know if you had a chance yet to see The Hill talking this morning, or not talking, but writing. Amy Parnes, who's a very good journalist.
Love Amy Parnes.
Amy Parnes is great. She wrote that really good book about the Clinton campaign in 2016. I think she wrote something about 2020 too. It was with Jonathan Allen. I think the Clinton book was. And I like Jonathan Allen too. John Allen and Amy Parnes, very good. And I think it's Kelly Trudeau. Was the name of the co-author of the piece this morning about whether Joe Biden, the big question in the Beltway, everybody's asking it, will Joe Biden run in 2024? If the media starts doing some honest reporting, it might be more difficult. But honestly, what are the options? There are no other options for the Democratic Party.